This is Hidden Killers Live with Tony Brueski, Stacy Cole, and Todd Michaels.
We're going to be joined in just we're going to be joined by Eric Faddis here in just a few moments, a defense attorney, former prosecutor. We're going to talk about the Mickey Stines case, and we're going to talk about the latest developments in that, because there's some big things that have come out. The unsealing of grand jury transcripts. Now, this may have actually been an accident. The transcripts give us a look behind the curtain of what was going on in those court chambers. If you're new to this case, Mickey Stines, the sheriff who shot the judge in his quarters at very close contact. What happened? Was there some sort of a mental health break? Well, in the grand jury transcripts, we learn a lot more new things about this case and the mental health struggles that apparently were going on. Very, very real for Sheriff Mickey Stines before pulling that trigger. We'll address that in just a little bit. We'll begin by taking a look. This is the reaction of Sheriff Stines right after he went into those chambers and shot the judge. This is him in the hallway being contained by other officers as everyone tries to figure out what the heck is going on. Let's take a look at some of this and we'll comment.
Why are you going to transport me in a vehicle for?
Probably not to put you in Ledger County Jail. I mean,
Why?
Just probably because, I don't know though. I don't know if that's
I don't
happening.
mind to be down there.
You don't mind to be down there?
They'll put me in a
Well, I mean,
cell.
we'll talk about that, you know. I have to talk to, see what the logistics is.
Why I got to get put in a vehicle and go outside.
Well, yeah, I understand why you're worried, but at the same time, you know how it is with something like this. We're going to be worried about you in the jail down here with local people. You know?
Right now, I'm alive and well, no weapons on me. So, if I leave this building, I won't draw another breath.
We're going to
Go where?
in one of these rooms, and we're going to talk real fast.
Yeah, not in one of these right here.
I don't know. I think they cleared one out. So
I sure feel safe doing that.
why? I ain't gonna let nothing happen. Okay, I ain't gonna let nothing happen to you. So don't worry about that. I'll stick with you until you go to your cell. Okay, you'll be all right. I promise you.
I know better than that.
What? You know, we just talked about, we known each other forever. I ain't gonna let nobody hurt you. Would you talk right here? If we pulled up some chairs, we'll just talk low. We're just trying to let everybody hear stuff and see everything.
I don't care if everybody hears. I just don't feel safe.
Okay. Well, here you should feel safe. There's cameras here. There's people everywhere. People in there. So if we pull up some chairs right here, would you talk to us right here?
Then you don't have a problem transporting stuff.
Well, that's transport is another issue. We'll make sure you're safe on that too. We'll wait till after we get done talking.
I ain't trying to be difficult, guys, but I don't feel safe.
So we got to know what led to this, Mickey. What transpired leading up to this? Because I know it just didn't happen for no reason. Something's happened. Everything has a reason why it happened and why somebody acts the way they do.
Just be fair to me.
We'll be fair to you.
Just don't beat on me.
I ain't gonna beat on you. Nobody else is gonna beat on you. You know that.
Don't shoot me. Somebody don't kill me, man.
Nobody's gonna shoot you. Nobody's gonna kill you.
Don't do that. Don't shoot me. Kill me and stuff.
So what? Tell me about what was going on earlier today. What was you doing earlier today? Tell me about your day.
It was fine.
Good day. Normal stuff. Office stuff. Why was you over here at the courthouse? Just was you had to come over here, drop off some papers? Or you come over here to talk to somebody?
Court. Come over here all the time.
For court?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just come over. We had lunch together at Street Side.
Who did?
Several people.
Who all had lunch? Let's talk about it. What happened today? which jail we're going to.
I think, not positive, Mickey, but I think they're transporting you to the Leslie County Jail for your safety.
For your safety. And Mickey, you've been around. And
I never make it to the Leslie County Jail.
Hey, who do you want to? Who do you want
Put me in
to?
Leslie County Jail. I get killed there. I get killed in the jail. Yes, Courthouse will do it.
Who do you want? Who do you want to transport you? Of all the police officers here, who do you want to go with you? There'll be it has to be at least one KSP officer, even if you ask one of your deputies.
All right, there's some of the video footage of Sheriff Mickey Stines shortly after he was arrested, essentially in the courthouse after shooting the judge. Very paranoid, as you can see from all of that. I guess the big question is, why is he so paranoid? Is there something mentally going on, mental health wise? That's one of the big questions that is being asked now. And what we've learned through some of the grand jury transcripts, the transcripts give us a look behind the curtain, how prosecutors have framed this case, what questions jurors asked, and what evidence they did not get. Jurors specifically asked for more medical records, but according to defense filings, they were only read a small excerpt from the doctor's visit the day before the shooting. The diagnosis of acute stress reaction never made it in. That omission has now become the centerpiece of the defense's motion to dismiss the indictment. Eric Faddis, defense attorney, joining us, former prosecutor. Thank you, as always, for coming on. How unusual is it, Eric, for grand jury transcripts, number one, to become public?
Tony, this is super rare. I mean, we look at the Epstein case, right? And the Department of Justice, that the highest law enforcement entity in the land, requested that those grand jury transcripts be unsealed and released. The court said, no way. So it's very rare. Here, it's my understanding that the defense wanted these transcripts in part to show what was not presented to this grand jury. And absent the unsealing of that, neither we nor the defense would even know about it.
And it seems a little dangerous here because the jurors in the grand jury, it's a very different type of structure. In case folks don't quite understand, it's not like, a regular trial where you have a jury seated like that. A grand jury is a very different kind of inquisition, if you will. But they were asking for more information about the medical records, and they did exist. This adds another layer of weirdness to this whole story of what the hell's going on here. They weren't given the full scope of the medical information that existed for Mickey Stines. Is that a big deal here?
I think it illustrates a fundamental problem with the grand jury process in that it is completely controlled by one side, only by the prosecution. The defense doesn't even get to be there. And so, we have the jury requesting additional information from the prosecutor saying, hey, in order for us to make our determination as to whether a charge should be filed, we want to see this other information. We want to see what medically could have been going on with the defendant. They were denied that, which I think just really shows a serious problem in the grand jury process and in how prosecutions sometimes go about these things.
Is there ever a justification for withholding something like the mental health diagnosis? I mean, I know they were denied that. I mean, legally, can they be denied that? Or is it just kind of one of those things where the system should work this way, but it doesn't always work that way? And when it doesn't work that way, there's really no accountability for it.
That is yet another problem with the grand jury process is how secret it is and how there is an absence of checks on what the prosecution wants to do. Here in a grand jury process, usually there's not even a judge. So the judge can't say, hey, prosecutor, we actually want you to give these medical records to the jury so they can make a more informed decision. That's not even present. It's really the prosecution just kind of doing what they want in there. And there isn't really a legal mechanism by which the prosecution could be compelled to provide these medical records so that they get sort of carte blanche in this secretive courtroom. And that's what's really being shown through the unsealing of these grand jury documents.
So Eric, I don't want to backtrack us a little bit here, but I want to know, what is the process for a possible leak like this? Who has this information and how could it have gotten out And why don't we know how it got out? I mean, in today's digital world, there's a footprint for everything. We should know how this got leaked.
Well, sure. I mean, typically it is released via a motion from one side or the other, often from the defense. Usually in most jurisdictions, they allow the defense to raise a motion to unseal those documents. I'm not sure exactly how they became public here, but they're supposed to remain secret, Stacy. And in fact, that's to protect the grand jurors in part from any sort of condemnation or public backlash based on a decision they might make.
Wow.
The heart of this case is still the surveillance footage. It's September 19th, 2024, inside Mullins' chambers. Stines, the sheriff, he clears the room of 4 people. He checks the doors and sits across from the judge, and then he borrows Mullins' phone and call his daughter. Then, without sound but in plain sight, he fires 2 shots. Another round at the desk, 6 more as he exits. Deputies say he later looked blank, almost vacant. He came back inside, admitted it was me, and then laid the weapon down. I mean, the video leaves no doubt about what happened here. So when they're arguing about the information that the grand jury did or did not get, in this case did not get, about his mental health diagnosis from the day prior, it doesn't make a big difference here. I mean, you can say the process was flawed in a way, shape, or form, but he's on video shooting him. So, I mean, what does that change? What are they arguing here to say that, well, this isn't valid? Try and explain that to me a little bit more.
Certainly. So the grand jury, their primary role is to determine if there is probable cause to file a charge against someone. Probable cause is a very low standard. In the grand jury setting, typically they don't consider defenses. They're not considering whether the defendant had some insanity defense that might be valid. That being said, the grand jury sort of acts, or is supposed to act, as a check on the prosecution. If they want more information about the totality of what happened, because that could play into their determination, then they're supposed to get that. I think defense is saying, hey, had the grand jury been given this information about mental health, perhaps they would have made a different call on this. Now, legalistically, the video is pretty clear in terms of probable cause for this shooting, but the grand jury wanted to hear more. The defense is saying they should have heard more, and that could have changed their decision.
What would it have changed?
If we're talking legalistically here, I'm not sure it would have changed a whole lot, because the grand jury, it's not a full trial, right? It's not their job to consider, hey, what are all the possible defenses? Let me hear from the other side too. Let me make a final conclusion as to what I think happened. That's not what they're in there to do. And so, even if they would have had the mental health records, from a purely legalistic perspective, there was still likely probable cause to bring the charge. The time for defenses like an insanity defense is on the back end, sort of as we get close to the trial phase.
Right after the shooting, rumors started spreading like wildfire in the community. There were claims that Judge Mullins had some kind of a relationship with Stines' wife or teenage daughter. The grand jury record does seem to clear that up decisively. Both women denied any sort of contact. Phone records back them up. The only call connecting the judge's phone to the daughter's number was the one Stines actually made himself minutes before the shooting using Mullins' device. That rumor, though, that could have colored public opinion quite a bit. And I mean, shut down, I guess, under oath. The question, I guess, still remains is why was that number in his phone? But if we can point and look at evidence and go, well, it was there, but it's never been used. It's just there. Who knows? How damaging are community rumors like this when the evidence, it proves it to be false before any sort of trial even took place, but they're out there.
Tony, if this would have been the 1920s or the 1950s, we wouldn't be dealing with this issue, because there wouldn't be sort of widespread information that was publicly available. You wouldn't have, people in different states and countries talking about these alleged rumors and that kind of thing. But since the emergence of social media and publicly accessible information, it certainly can play a role. It can play a role perhaps in the future jury pool. This case is going to trial, and that future jury pool, if those folks have heard these rumors, that could color the way that they see the case and could have implications for a fair trial for both sides.
Want more on this case and others? Then press subscribe now and don't miss a moment of true crime coverage from Tony Brueski and the Hidden Killers podcast.